बूंद समानी समुंदर में जानत है सब कोई समुंदर समाना बूंद में बुझे बिरला कोई
Namaskar and good evening. You just heard yet another gem of a doha from Sant Kabir. The doha means when you say a drop merges into the ocean, everyone understands it. But when you say the ocean merges into a drop, seldom does one understand that. The union of the soul with the consciousness supreme is a reality. To realize this reality, the Guru guides us in our physical existence through Seva and Mantra Vidya. Today, Team Hingori Sutras have come together to share the knowledge and experience of our Guru in the subject of Mantra Vidya. We begin with Kanika, who will now introduce you to the philosophy of Mantra Vidya.
Thank you, Anjali. Good evening, everyone. Today, Naina, Anjali, and I shall be discussing the very fascinating and intriguing subject of Mantra Vidya. So let's delve right in to understand the philosophy of it. In our path of spirituality, we have learned that the main pillars of spiritual upliftment are firstly Seva, second, changing our guna mix towards more sattvic gunas, thirdly, recognizing the divinity within ourselves, and fourthly, and in no particular order, I mean, Mantra Vidya. So what does Mantra Vidya really mean? Mantra Vidya means the knowledge and usage of mantras for helping one to transcend from illusion to enlightenment. I repeat, Mantra Vidya means the knowledge and usage of mantras for helping one to transcend from illusion to enlightenment. Now, as children, haven't we all been asked by our parents and grandparents to learn some mantras or the other, whether it was for our general well-being or just because we were meant to know them? But have we ever understood what exactly is a mantra? Could we have the next slide, please? So, what exactly is a mantra? Mantra means a sound, a certain utterance, or a syllable. Today, modern science sees the whole existence as reverberations of energy, different levels of vibrations. Wherever there is a vibration, there is bound to be a sound. So that means the whole existence is a kind of sound or a complex amalgamation of sounds. The whole existence is an amalgamation of multiple mantras. The yogic scriptures often compare mantras to a boat or a bridge that an aspirant can use to cross the sea of delusion created by the external world, which we call Maya, and to reach the center of consciousness within. Yogis also say that a mantra is like an eternal friend who accompanies the meditator even after death, lighting up the path in the realm where the light of the sun and the moon cannot penetrate. It sounds very, very dramatic, doesn't it? But it's actually true. Next slide, please. Now, in understanding what a mantra is and how a mantra works, it is helpful to look at its translation. The word mantra is derived from two Sanskrit words. The first part is man, which means mind, and the second part is tra, which is the root of the Sanskrit word meaning tool or instrument. A mantra is therefore literally an instrument or tool of the mind that helps us to concentrate, intensify, and spiritualize our consciousness. Next slide, please. Now, so we all know that mantras are basically unique mystical formulae of sacred Sanskrit syllables. They are loaded with power, and they were originally revealed to the rishis or the seers or the sages in the deepest states of meditation by the very first yogi, Shiva. Yes, Shiva is the author and the poet. Now, the popular story goes like this. And actually, before I start this very short story, I'd like all of you to simply close your eyes and imagine the scene that I'm now going to describe. Bholenath merrily raised his damru and began playing it. As he danced to its heady rhythm, millions of sounds spread in the sky like stars in space. Sounds of different frequencies were produced when the beads at the end of the strings would strike the damru heads. Shiva's moving hands and feet, his swaying matted locks, the sound of Rudraksh beads around his wrists, the slithering cobra around his neck, every movement gave birth to a sound. And each sound was a mantra representing the feminine, masculine, or neutral aspect of creation. From his kundala, which is the ear loops, originated the seed syllables of Kundalini. It is this reason why, on the path of mantra yoga, Shiva is the only creator of mantras. You can now open your eyes and tell me if you could feel and visualize the creation of sound in your mind's eye. Did you? If you did, give us some thumbs ups and likes to let us know. Now, the meditating sages at that point only saw what was already there, and so they are called the drashtas or the seers of these mantras. These mantras were then passed down orally until they were compiled to what we know as the scriptures, like the Vedas, Upanishads, and so on. These sages believed that numerous repetitions of the mantra, called mantra jap, led to the mantra's particular vibration to become amplified in your individual resonance. It could penetrate into the depths of the unconscious mind and, as a result, become a part of your mental and physical environment, even though you cannot see it. Now, this is a very common question which arises in many minds, many practitioners. And in fact, it also arose in mine, that despite doing so much of mantra jap at the very best of my capacities, why could I not see any tangible difference or change in myself? But worry not, my friend, the change is most definitely happening. At this point, I'd like all of you to carry out this very interesting experiment, or maybe a practice if you would like to call it that. So what you have to do is that every night, starting from tonight maybe, when you lie down on your bed to sleep, just close your eyes and start saying your mantra, whichever mantra you recite normally or generally speaking. Now, I don't mean that you speak out your mantra aloud, and try not to even allow your lips to move. Just simply close your eyes and allow the mantra to be recited in your mind. Do this till you drift off to sleep. When you wake up the next morning, you will see that as if the mantra is still playing in your head. It may even feel as if the words are just rolling off your tongue. It is an absolutely wow feeling, believe me. But why does this happen? It's because when we sleep, the conscious mind also is in a resting mode, but the subconscious and the unconscious mind are still awake. The mantra is now on an autopilot mode, actually, if you would call it that. And it is constantly getting repeated over and over again, all through the night, till you awaken the next morning. Imagine the infinite repetitions you can achieve just by doing this. Now, this may not be something which you can achieve overnight, but it may take a little practice. You could try it for a week or two, or could be even more, but don't give up and see one day it's actually going to start happening with you. We would be delighted if you could write in with your experiences, or if you need any help doing this practice, into answers@hingorisutras.com. We would be glad to help, and we would also be happy to read your experiences. One more thing, please try and make this into a habit, and you will definitely notice phenomenal changes within yourself. Now, coming back, Sanskrit being a very vibrational language, the mantras were predominantly written in this language. Now, I take the liberty here to presume that most of us here are really not very well versed in this language. So, you would be glad to know that the scriptures say that the holiness of the mantra is intrinsic, that one participates in it not by completely understanding it, but by simply hearing and reciting it correctly. Another very important thing to note is that it's mentioned in the Rig Veda as well that the power encapsulated in a mantra is released when it is spoken, and it can bring about a real change, not only at the psychological level, but also in the material order of things. Therefore, the speaker must realize that he or she is handling power, power that can be used for good or even ill. Speaking the mantra can have a purifying effect upon the speaker and the universe. And if spoken in malice or ignorance, the power unleashed can be harmful to the individual and to the universe. In this sense, a mantra can be used to bless or even curse. You know, there's a very interesting story I came across, and I thought it was worth sharing with all of you today. Once upon a time, a devout Brahmin was chanting the Mahamrityunjay mantra. Very popular mantra, I'm sure many of us know it here, and a mantra that is said can even conquer death. In his very devotional sentiment, with all the reverence and fervor he could muster, he was chanting this mantra. Most of us have heard or know the mantra well, and the last word of the mantra is Ma Mritat, which is a combination of two Sanskrit words again, Ma and Amritat. Ma means me or my, and Amritat means immortal and eternal. So the opposite of Amritat is Mritat, which means mortal or temporary. So this Brahmin, though he was qualified in his field as a Pandit, had not been initiated into the mantra, and so was wrongly chanting the last word as Ma Mritat, which means my mortal nature. This small mistake of his was changing the entire meaning of the mantra, making it the polar opposite of what he actually meant. One such evening, when he was chanting, Shiva was roaming the universe with his consort Parvati, and they came across this Brahmin. Shiva had a good laugh, and he said that if this Brahmin is ignorantly now is asking for bondage and not liberation by incorrectly chanting this mantra, if he goes on like this, he'll never attain moksha. To this, Parvati said no average person can understand the intricacies of the language that evolved from his Damru, and that the Brahmin is chanting with such devotion, so maybe he should be bestowed with whatever he desires. To this, Shiva replied, and please pay attention to what he said. He said, I can't interfere in the natural energy radiated by the mantras. A sun in any solar system will always exude heat. It can never emit coldness. It must follow the natural dharma. So too will mantras only emanate their energy based on how they are chanted. And that is why initiation is important. Hence the need for all the precepts and checks. So, what is the moral of the story that we just discussed? The moral of the story is that initiation into a mantra by a Siddh Guru, who is Siddh in those mantras, is of utmost importance, so that the disciple is insulated of the opposite or anti effects of the mantra, if any. It is believed, and rightfully so, that when a spiritually evolved person initiates a disciple into a mantra, the mystical power imbued within it is unleashed, and it is passed simply through the sounds that are uttered. Now we come to the different forms of mantras. So mantras come in many forms, popular ones being the rigs or the verses from the Rig Veda, Saman or musical chants from the Sama Veda. These are typically melodic, mathematically structured meters believed to be resonant with numinous qualities. At its very simplest, the word Om, an ancient Sanskrit syllable first found in the Vedas, serves as a mantra. Om is considered to be the most fundamental and powerful one, and so is prefixed and suffixed to all Hindu prayers. In more sophisticated forms are shlokas and strotams. These mantras are melodic verses with spiritual interpretations, such as a longing for truth, reality, light, immortality, and more. We also have different types of mantras, which are quite popular, and many of you all here would also be already knowing. There are three main types of mantras. First is the Bij mantra. Name suggests it's a seed mantra. Next one is Sagun mantras, which means with attributes or with qualities. And Nirgun mantras means without attributes. So let us first discuss the Bij mantras. The Bij mantras are one syllable sounds used in meditation and yogic practices. These mantras are chanted or meditated upon alone, but more often are attached to a longer mantra to invest them with an enhanced seed power. There are specific Bij mantras that correlate to the seven chakras and are chanted to cleanse, balance, and activate the particular chakra. The image here on your screen shows the different Bij mantras for the chakras. I'll give you a moment to just read through it. So for an experience of meditation on these chakra sounds, you could log into our website, hingorisutras.com. And if you go under the section called Lessons for Life, you will find a video called Meditation and Kriya Yoga. And it's been conducted by Professor R.S. Bhogal, and it is quite enlightening. Do try it. There are also a number of Bij mantras that are for the main Hindu deities. And chanting these will manifest in arousing the qualities and energies of those deities, and also attract the blessings of the concerned god or goddess. Some of the Bij mantras for deities are Eng, which is the Bij mantra for goddess Saraswati, Kring, which is the Bij mantra for Kali, Shring, which is the goddess Mahalakshmi, Hirim, which is the Shakti Bij mantra, and a few more. Next, we have the Sagun mantras. So as the name suggests again, it is Sa Gun, which means with attributes or with qualities. Sagun mantras are sometimes referred to as deity mantras because these mantras invoke the forms of the individual deities or personalized aspects of God. It is said that the recitation of the Sagun mantras gives rise to the actual form of the particular deity, thus manifesting its power. Some examples of Sagun mantras are there on your screen as well, like Om Namah Shivaya, Om Gan Ganpate Namah, and a few more. Next up is Nirgun mantras. Now, Nirgun, as the name again suggests, is without attributes or without qualities. Nirgun mantras are very interesting because they are used as tools to attain liberation from the recurring cycle of life and death and for the union with the consciousness supreme. These mantras do not appeal to any particular deity, object, or idol. One of the most common Nirgun mantras is Om, which has no specific meaning, but it is valued for its sound vibration. Some of the other well-known Nirgun mantras are Aham Brahmasmi, Tat Tvam Asi, and Soham. So let us now explore the importance and significance of mantras in some of the Indian philosophies. Some of them discuss the importance of Mantra Vidya to be one of the paths to self-realization. Of course, the oldest of them all is the Sankhya philosophy. So the Sankhya school of thought says that the mind develops through a gradual process of meditation that includes introversion and sense withdrawal, concentration, use of mantra, and subtle breathing techniques. As per the Sankhya school of philosophy, one of the best ways to work on the mind is through practicing breath awareness with mantra. The Vedas and Bhagavad Gita attribute their allegiance to this philosophy. Next up is the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Now, in the sixth yogic path called dharana, which means concentration, Patanjali describes various methods of supporting the mind to achieve single focused attention. Repeating a mantra, and especially the syllable Om, was a very important aspect for accomplishing this sixth stage of yoga or union with the divine origins. Patanjali taught, chant Om and you will attain your goal. If nothing else works, just chant Om. Pretty phenomenal was Patanjali even in those times. Coming next, the task of providing a theoretical explanation for the power of the spoken mantras was taken up by the Mimamsa school of philosophy. It was these Mimamsakas who propounded that the mantras of the Vedas were not coined or written by the sages and the rishis. In fact, they were just the seers or hearers of the mantras. Hence comes the view that the Vedic mantras were not written, but passed down orally. Next up, we have the Kundalini Yoga. Now, it's a very interesting subject and very vast subject in its own. But let's just discuss a short version of it. Now, Kundalini is a form of divine feminine energy or Shakti, which is also associated with pure bliss and power. And it is also believed to be located at the base of the spine like a coiled serpent in the Muladhara chakra. Dormant Kundalini energy can be awakened with regular meditation, mantra chanting, spiritual studies, and of course, physical asanas called Kundalini Yoga. Let's quickly discuss a little about this Kundalini Yoga. So we have about 72,000 nadis or energy channels in our body. But the most important ones are the Ida, Pingala, and the Sushumna nadis. So all our 7 chakras are basically located along the Sushumna nadi, which is also along the spinal cord. The Ida and the Pingala nadis, they intersect with the Sushumna nadi at 3 chakras. And these 3 chakras intersections are called granthis. So as the name suggests, granthi means a knotted area which prevents the free flow of energy. One such granthi is at the Muladhara or root chakra called the Brahma granthi. The second one is at the Anahat or heart chakra called the Vishnu granthi. And the third one is at the Ajna or third eye chakra called the Rudra granthi. So in Kundalini Yoga, they say that these 3 granthis are responsible for preventing the Kundalini from rising up through the Sushumna Nadi to its full potential, which is to reach the crown chakra. In any spiritual practice, to achieve success in the process of Kundalini awakening, it is very important to open up these psychic knots. And no doubt, one of the most effective ways of doing this is mantra jap. One more thing to note here is that when we chant mantras, the Kundalini tends to rise and it kind of reaches a certain chakra depending upon the practitioner's sadhana. But then it may even fall back downwards to a lower chakra if practices are not done regularly with full awareness. Then we have the Vedanta philosophy. Mantras have played a very pivotal role in the Vedanta philosophy. Sri Adi Shankaracharya, the most famous Advaita Vedanta philosopher, explains the importance of performing spiritual practices such as meditation, mantra jap, and contemplation as a means to achieve liberation. One of the most well-known among these Sanskrit chants composed by him is the Nirvana Shatakam Strotam, which embodies a practitioner's spiritual pursuit and his understanding of his non-dualistic nature. It's a very popular one. I'm sure many of us already know it here. The very famous popular first line goes like this: I am not the mind, the intellect, the ego, or the memory, and so on. And the last line we all know: Chidananda Rupam Shivoham Shivoham. I am the eternal Shiva. Coming to Tantra Vidya, mantras serve a very central role in Tantra Vidya. In this school, mantras are considered to be a sacred formula and a deeply personal ritual, which is effective only after initiation. In Tantra, mantra is not a prayer. It's not even the name of the deity, but the sound form of that deity, in fact. Once we connect with the power of the mantra, then the vibration of our own mind becomes linked with that larger mind, which itself has a vibratory nature. Some examples of tantric mantras are the famous Shakti Bij, Eng, Ring, Shring, Kring, and more. A very well-known tantric mantra appeals to the fierce Hindu goddess Chamunda, an avatar of the mother goddess called the Chamunda Devi mantra. Although it has no direct translation, it offers salutations to the energies of Shakti and seeks strength and fulfillment of desires and aspirations. So many people today face problems which are related to an evil spirit possessing a human body, or what we say buri nazar, ya evil black magic spells. Eradicating these kind of evil powers is very difficult. And over here, the power of tantra and mantra comes to the rescue. In fact, all healing techniques using mantra vidya are actually tantra skills. Tantra used with pure and selfless feeling is called divine tantra or white magic. So far, we have discussed the importance of mantras in Hindu philosophies. But mantras have deep roots in every major spiritual tradition and can be found in many languages. Now, in Sikhism, Ik Onkar are the first words spoken by Guru Nanak after enlightenment. This is the Mool mantra for the Sikhs, which encapsulates the essence of the truth of creation. This mantra was revealed to Guru Nanak in his meditation when he re-emerged from the Kali Bain river after 3 days. And so Guru Nanak is known as the Drashta or the seer of the Ik Onkar mantra. In Buddhism, chanting mantras is a very common way to cultivate well-being and inner peace. Buddha himself propagated this method. But in the 14th century came the Nichiren school of Buddhism, and they propagated the veneration of the Lotus Sutra or the feet through recitation of the mantra Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. In the Islamic Sufi tradition, chanting the 99 names of Allah is an invocation of Allah's attributes. Christians have their psalms and hymns, and a popular mantra for them is simply the name of Jesus, while Catholics commonly repeat the Hail Mary prayer. Very interesting is that Paramhans Yogananda wrote, the sacred word Om of the Vedas became the sacred word Hum of the Buddhists, Amen of the Muslims, and Amen of the Greeks, Romans, Jews, and Christians. Now, this syllable Om has been translated into so many different languages, cultures, and religious traditions. But yet, the creative and transformative power of this sound and its vibrations still remains the same. So like I mentioned earlier that so many questions arise naturally as to the effects of these mantras. What kind of an effect does it really have on a person? Let's first discuss the spiritual aspects. Very importantly, mantra jap is a very effective tool to enhance the aura. Now your aura in turn then has a better capability and capacity to accumulate and retain positive energies. Secondly, mantra jap eventually helps us to meditate. Meditation requires a lot of focus, which is difficult to achieve many a times. Chanting will block and distract the mind from frivolous thoughts, helping to anchor it. Then chanting a mantra, tunes you into the experience of the particular mantra. The more sensitive you become, the deeper you will experience the effects, and you'll actually get to experience inner bliss. Imagine you planted a seed with the intention of helping it to blossom into a beautiful plant. In the same way, a mantra can be thought of as a seed for energizing an intention. You plant the mantra in the fertile soil of practice, you nurture them, and over time, they will bear the fruit of your intention. Isn't that beautiful? But yet, what I would like to reiterate is that consistency is key, regardless of which mantra you're reciting. You enliven a mantra through regular practice over a period of time. Now, this could be months, years, or sometimes even lifetimes. It's a little bit like, how the old man or the Homo sapiens did, like rubbing a flint against a stone to strike fire. With the friction of these syllables of the mantra inside your consciousness, and with the focus of bringing yourself back to the mantra again and again and again, the mantra's resonance inside your awareness will eventually open up the energy in the mantra, and it will stop being just words, and it will become a living energy. You shall be able to access the true joy deep inside. Since like we discussed with the different types of mantras, each mantra invokes a precise power, so they can be used for very specific purposes, which could be for healing of pain and even treating diseases. And when combined with the user's intention, mantras can become even more targeted and empowered. Now, many scientists and many of us over here would be logical left brain people trying to question everything that we come across. They've always questioned and wondered about the efficacy of mantra recitation on our physiological surroundings. Now, is mantra chanting only a ritualistic practice? And do you think it's lost its relevance? Well, the answer is not at all. Chanting still remains a very sought after route to physical and intellectual wellness. What the yogis have known for several thousand years and more about mantras having a potent effect on the mental, physical, physiological, and spiritual being, Western science is only now starting to catch up. Neuroscientists today in the West, equipped with advanced brain imaging tools, are beginning to quantify and inform some of the health benefits of this ancient practice, such as its ability to help calm your nervous system, increase concentration, improve memory and focus, even synchronize the activities in the left and right hemispheres of the brain. Regular chanting of mantras is believed to wipe out fear, anger, depression, and also help relieve disorders of the respiratory, digestive, reproductive, circulatory, and all the other bodily systems. Mantra meditation also has the capacity to lower the heart rate. It helps to reduce blood pressure and also activate the relaxation response to allow healing and rejuvenation to occur. I mean, this is amazing. The health benefits are actually uncountable. The times that we are in today, when we are all moving back to basics, aren't we? And I don't mean about bell bottoms coming back in fashion. What I mean is that all of us are tending towards, wanting to move towards eating a healthier diet, rich in organic food. People are involved in yoga practices. So in the same way, we should also start some meditation and mantra therapy as well. Don't you think so? Okay, so we have seen that global ancient wisdom has regarded mantra meditation as a very effective tool for self evolution and the cultivation of mindfulness. So just imagine what all it can offer us today in our hyperactive and fast paced modern world. Handing over to Naina, who will enlighten us about the science of sounds and mantras. Thank you.
Having gained some great insight into the philosophy of Mantra Vidya from Kaneka, let's look at what science has to say. Science is now speaking in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. What really amazed me was not only the science discoveries, but the fact that all the research is validating what the ancient texts have been saying for years. The knowledge available to us about the ancient practices of Mantra Vidya and yoga have the power to transform our lives, the lives around us, and the entire universe. Today, I would like to discuss 7 subjects that I found most interesting. Cymatics, which talks about how sound impacts water. Dr. Masaru Emoto and water consciousness. Impact of meditation on brain waves. The power of repetition by taking a look at a Buddhist brain. The power of certain sound versus others. We'll see what science has to say about Om and the Gayatri Mantra. 6, the singing cell and Nadi Yoga. And of course, the holy grail of modern science, quantum physics. So cymatics is essentially the study of how sound waves influence matter. Swiss scientist Dr. Hans Jenny coined the term cymatics, derived from the Greek word for wave. Now, why is this interesting? We can, of course, capture sound in the digital realm, where we can see waves, but that only gives us a 2D view. Dr. Jenny performed many experiments by putting substances such as sand and fluids and powders on a metal plate. The plate was attached to an oscillator controlled by a frequency generator. Through turning the dial on this generator, he would cause the plate to vibrate at different frequencies. I was astounded to see these liquid, space, and dust take on incredibly organic looking shapes like starfish and human cells and organs, underwater and microscopic life. These materials had looked like lifeless shapes moments before they were exposed to sound vibration. Here's a short video to help us visualize this. Can we play the video, please?
And what you're going to see now are what happens to particles of sand and other various particles when a sound resonates across a plate and resonates those particles in tune with the sound. Because when we think, we're not just sending out a wave which resonates the energy, we're sending out on a frequency outside of the range of human hearing, we're sending out a sound. Everything is sound. When we think, a sound goes out, it resonates the energy around us to that sound. And sound takes random particles and turns it into astonishing form. And that's how this universe was created.
Ever stood in front of a powerful speaker and felt the vibration of sound? Yes, I have. Dr. Jenny's work demonstrates positive proof of the amazing power of vibration to create form. He, in a way, actually kind of helps us see sound waves. And he believed that everything we perceive as hard objects, including our bodies, which they are constantly vibrating at their own rates. We saw in the video that each frequency produced a different result. And we can understand with this how each mantra sound will produce a different result. Kanika mentioned that it doesn't matter if you understand the mantra. It is not only the meaning of the mantra, but its subtle vibrations that have power. Sound itself, when uttered correctly, is power. Each mantra has its own vibrational frequency, and by correct practice, we can tap into the same vibrational frequency. For over 20 years, Dr. Emoto studied the scientific evidence of how the molecular structure in water transforms when it is exposed to sounds and intentions. You can see the pictures of the crystals formed along with the thoughts and words alongside them, what they were exposed to. We've had a few presentations before where this was discussed, but I would like to just stress that if water is affected by words, intentions, and energies, what about human beings who are made mostly of water? His research also showed that polluted and toxic water, when exposed to prayer and intention, can be altered and restored to beautifully formed geometric crystals. Water, which has been blessed, plays an important role in many faiths. Mantras and thoughtful intentions are used to power water. Holy water in Christianity is water that has been blessed by a member of the clergy. It is used for baptism, to bless individuals in churches, homes. Buddhists recite sutras or mantras numerous times over water, which is then either consumed or is used to purify homes. In all of Gurudev's sthans, jal or blessed water plays a pivotal role. It is prepared with the recitations of mantras by a practitioner siddh in that mantra, and this jal is given for healing and blessings. We've all experienced that magical feeling, of being hit with a brainwave, that aha moment of newfound clarity or a great idea. And it usually seems to come from nowhere. The human brain is composed of 86 billion neurons, and electrical activity emanating from this brain produces its own vibration and frequency. These brain waves determine the quality of the mind of a person, their level of consciousness, intelligence, and empathy. We have 5 kinds of brain waves, which you can see on the screen. We'll just go through them one by one. Beta brain waves are between 50 to 30 hertz, and they are associated with normal waking consciousness. They can also translate into stress, anxiety, restlessness with over 48 to 60 thoughts a minute, which is about 60 to 80,000 thoughts per day. In fact, the voice of beta can be described as that nagging little inner critic. Alpha brain waves are present in deep relaxation and usually emerge during meditation. They measure about, say, 7.5 to 14 hertz. The thoughts in this state reduce to approximately 30 per minute. Alpha waves are your gateway to your subconscious mind, and the voice of alpha is your intuition, which becomes clearer and more profound the closer you get to 7.83 hertz. The earth also has a frequency. You can call it the heartbeat, called the Schumann resonance of approximately 7.83 hertz. Now, this number is important because when we are out of sync with the earth's frequency, we begin to exhibit signs of discomfort that can range from anxiety, insomnia, and illness. In early space missions, astronauts became weak and ill when they went to space and left the resonance of the earth behind. Now, the spaceships have a vibrational device attached to the ships that resonates at the Schumann resonance. And as little as 15 minutes of Mantra Vidya and meditation can take the practitioner to this alpha state of a quieter and more creative mind. Theta brainwaves are present during deep meditation and light sleep. It is experienced, that momently as you drift off to sleep and wake up from sleep, that deep sleep in the morning, the elusive voice of theta is a silent voice. That first thought after you wake up, the one that gives you true insight comes from theta state. Sometimes we wake up with a perfect solution to a problem we went to bed with. Anyone here have had that experience? Please do give us a thumbs up or like if you did. This is coming from this state. A sense of deep spiritual connection and unity with the universe can be experienced at theta, and it is the gateway to your subconscious mind. Practice of Mantra Vidya just before sleeping, therefore, is highly beneficial. For in this state, the vibration of mantra is experienced by the subconscious mind. And sometimes the mantra can even carry on in the unconscious mind during deep sleep or delta frequency. Delta frequency is the slowest of the brain wave frequency. They occur in both deep and dreamless sleep during transcendental meditation or samadhi. Delta is the realm of your unconscious mind and the gateway to universal and collective consciousness. In theta and delta state, the thoughts reduce to approximately 10 to 15 per minute. So far we have seen beta, which causes us anxiety, alpha, which taps into meditation, creativity, and intuition, theta, which takes us to subconscious and greater intuition, delta, which is the unconscious mind and universal consciousness, and then we have the gamma, which is the fastest frequency. These are associated with bursts of insight and able to link information from all parts of the brain. These are also known as genius waves, with access to higher levels of superconsciousness and infinite intelligence. These are kind of linked to, when people say they're in the zone, like I'm in the zone, I'm working in flow states. That's what you would call someone being in the gamma state. Elite athletes, top musicians, high achievers in all fields produce far more gamma waves than average. Mystical experience and out-of-body experiences are also said to happen at this level. In Stephen Kotler's book, Stealing Fire, he says that the altered state industry is now $1 trillion. Everyone from CEO, Marines, athlete are using tools to access and expand their awareness. Mantra Vidya and meditation can lower our brainwave frequency to alpha state, which is meditative, to deeper levels of meditation in the delta, and eventually to samadhi in theta. Regular practice will also help us to tap into the gamma state, where genius resides. Matthew Rickett is the happiest man known to science. Scientists found unusually high levels of gamma activity in his brain, the highest ever recorded, in fact. In 1992, Richard Davidson, a Harvard graduate and neuroscientist at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, got a challenge from the Dalai Lama. The Dalai Lama had a kind of a different question for Davidson. He said, You've been studying the tools of modern neuroscience to study depression, anxiety, and fear. Why can't you use the same tools to study kindness and compassion? In June 2002, Davidson positioned 128 electrodes on the head of the monk named Matthew Ricard. Ricard had racked up more than 10,000 hours of meditation and chanting, and he was asked to meditate on unconditional loving kindness and compassion. Davidson's team immediately noticed powerful gamma activity. The researchers had never seen anything like it. They actually got worried, that something might be wrong with the equipment or methods. So they brought in more monks and controlled groups of inexperienced college students. And what they observed was remarkable. The meditators' brains produced waves that were 30 times as strong as the students. And the meditators' brain, the large parts of the meditators' brains were active, which are part of positive attitude. These high altitude oscillations in the brain are also indicative of neuroplasticity or brain resilience, which means that those brains are more capable of change. It is the ability of the brain to modify its connections or rewire itself. Meditation and Mantra Vidya literally has the capacity to rewire the brain. Time magazine named Davidson one of the 100 most influential people in the world in 2006. I was quite delighted to find there's a large number of papers and research done on the Om Mantra. One such study was conducted by NIMHANS, which is the National Institute of Mental Health and Neuroscience in Bangalore. And the effect of Om chanting and brain activity was examined using fMRI, which is functional magnetic resonance imaging view. So they did like 15 seconds rest, 15 seconds Om, 15 second rest, and 15 seconds of like just a sound, like nothing. It didn't really mean anything. So Om chanting deactivated the brain's emotional and fear-based center known as amygdala. Vagus nerve stimulation is an invasive surgical treatment for epilepsy and depression, and it produces the same results. So this study finding state Om recitation should and can be used in clinical practice for depression and epilepsy. Imagine it could save you an invasive surgery. Om mantra also activates the parasympathetic nervous system, produces a calm and relaxed feeling in the mind and body, strengthens the immune system, and reduces thoughts in your mind. It increases nitric oxide in the body, which is released in the human respiratory tract. It widens the blood vessels and allows the blood to flow easier. So the sound at the end of Brahmari Pranayam or Om chanting, the humming sound, it increases the nitric oxide levels in the body by 15-fold. And there was a significant increase in theta waves as well after Om meditation. So Om mantra helps you have a better control over the fluctuations of the mind. Anyone here wanting to be a little bit more intelligent? Someone who think they could be handed just like a magic dose of some gyan? I don't think I see any no's here. So I think Gayatri Mantra and Sanskrit may be your tools. In a study conducted by the School of Tropical Medicine in Kolkata, 45 athletes were divided into 3 groups, 15 chanting Gayatri Mantra, 15 regular, and 15 were control group with no meditation. These subjects were evaluated post 3 months of 15 minutes of daily practice. Athletes with Gayatri Mantra chanting showed significant improvement in attention and memory domain. In another study, 60 school students from the age group of about 12 to 14 participated from a school in Maharashtra. 50% of participants were asked to chant Gayatri Mantra for 10 minutes and 50% were doing regular poem line, like some poem chanting. The magnitude net score improvement after Gayatri Mantra was 21.67%. It's like getting a 70% versus an 85%. That's a huge jump. Another EEG study showed that the percentage of gamma waves increased by just listening to Gayatri Mantra. The Gayatri Mantra increases attention span and makes you more intelligent. A very senior disciple of Gurudev's, Raji Sharma ji, will be conducting a session on the nuances of the Gayatri Mantra. Stay tuned for this very special session on a live segment. I'm confident Google Auntie would not be able to give you any more valuable info. James Hartzell, a neuroscientist and postdoctoral researcher from Spain's Basque Center on Cognition and Spain Language, coined the term the Sanskrit effect. He compared the brain of 21 male participants with those of 21 professional Vedic Sanskrit Pandits. What he and his research team found was massive gray matter density in Pandit's brain. And what makes Sanskrit so special is that, unlike any other language, its structure and alphabet is built completely on the vibration of sound. Sanskrit mantras are powerful vibrational fields of sound. Coming back to the microscopic, in the early 80s, Fabien Mammon conducted a biology experiments at the University of Jussieu in Paris, showing the impact of sound on human cells in the energy field. Using a Kirlian camera, Mammon was able to document what happens to the energy fields of human cells when exposed to sound. He discovered that the color and shape of each cell and its subtle energy field, which is its aura, changed according to the pitch and timbre of each sound. In a more recent development, scientists in the year 2004 discovered that cells vibrate, and when those vibrations are amplified, they create a sound. 𝐬𝐸𝐚𝐥, a UCLA professor and physicist, along with graduate student Pelling, were the researchers to discover cellular sounds. After replicating the experiments in various conditions and on different types of cells, they concluded that each cell produces its own unique sound. The ancient Indian science of Nada Yoga is a yoga of sound. Nada Yoga means union through sound, is the science of inner transformations through sound and tone. It is based on the premise that the entire cosmos and everything in it consists of sound vibrations or nada. Nada Yoga is about the very finest sounds we hear within, the anahata, the unstruck sound. Nada Yoga is mentioned in the Vedas 3,500 years ago, and scientists first discovered that each cell makes its own unique sound in 2004. In essence, the whole universe hums with its own frequency, rhythm, and vibration. John 1.1 in the Bible states, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God." So, is everything really energy? In quantum field theory, you could almost say that, because in quantum mechanics, everything is made of pockets of energy called quanta. Quantum physics is the part of physics that describes the smallest things in our universe. Things like molecules and atoms and subatomic particles and things like that. This is fascinating because you, me, the monkey, and the lamppost, basically everything around us is made of from quantum physics. And so this is really how the universe is actually working. Quantum physicists discovered that physical atoms are made up of vortices of energy that are constantly spinning and vibrating. And at the subatomic level, everything you see or touch isn't really there. Yes, you heard that right. At the subatomic level, everything is energy. So to quote my young millennial friends, it's all about the vibes. A shout out to all the millennials amongst our audience today, and of course the parents of millennials. Please give us a show of thumbs or likes if you're here. Dr. Vikram Sharma, founder and director of CEO of Quintessential Labs Inc., had given a detailed insight into the quantum nature of reality. If you missed it, I highly recommend you take out the time to listen to it. It is online on the Hingori Sutras website, hingorisutras.com, under Lessons for Life. Heisenberg of the Heisenberg Uncertainty Principle fame said, "After the conversations about Indian philosophy, some of the ideas of quantum physics that had seemed so crazy suddenly made much more sense." On that note, I request Anjali to take this discussion forward on the practice and miracles of mantras.
In our enthusiasm to share all that we've learned, we did not realize how long this session is going to be today. But it only felt right to share all that we've learned. Would you like us to go on? I would like you to put up thumbs up there. If you'd like us to continue with the session. But please do bear with us if we do continue, because it is going to be a little long. Okay. As Kanika said, all existence is an arrangement of silence and sound, or simply sound at different frequencies. For silence too is a type of sound. Science believes that there are two types of energies, potential and kinetic. Mantra science says the same thing, but it takes it a step further. In Mantra Yoga, while kinetic energy is an aspect of potential energy, the movement in the energy causes sound. When this sonic aspect of energy is harnessed or channelized, it becomes the creative energy. This potent creative energy can be used to aid creation, destruction, or sustenance of your world, your dreams, your goals and desires. Mantra Yoga is about going to the source of all sounds, the first voice, the originator, so you may connect with the universe at different levels altogether, a level beyond the comprehension of an average mind. The art of mantra believes that if you can use the right words to train your mind, to sharpen its focus, and to channelize the divinity in the universe, you can rise above every negative tendency that holds you back and go past the shackles of your limited conscious mind. You can cut through life's myriad problems, just like how a sharp sword cuts through brass. Above all, you can attain liberation. But to do this, you need to learn the art of Mantra Vidya. A pertinent question that comes up is, where does one get a mantra from? Most spiritual books are replete with mantras. Every priest, pandit, or imam knows mantras. There are various forums through which one can receive a mantra. However, these are merely words without any real power. It is only if one is lucky enough to receive a mantra from a Siddh Guru that one has truly a powerful mantra. Since Mantra Vidya is experiential, speculative methods do not work, and practicing a mantra needs an updesh from a guru who is already very well versed in the Vidya. While practices vary from tradition to tradition, following the guru's instructions is said to guarantee results. Your guru will give you a mantra that will connect you to his power. And if he is convinced by your faith, his energy will help you not only in Mantra Vidya, but in any other obstacles in life. But before Mantra Sadhana, a personal sadhana is of utmost importance. Sharing and helping each other with this knowledge helps us convert theory to practice. Why is personal sadhana important? Personal sadhana helps you rise above your physical existence till you reach a state of selflessness, bringing in humility in every action. My guru was given the Mahamrityunjay mantra complete, in the sense it was already Siddh when it was given to him. This was because Gurudev recognized the certain kind of seva he was doing selflessly. The secrecy of mantra. There are many reasons why mantras and Mantra Vidya are said to be private and a secret. For example, mantra is the sound form of a devta one worships. Devta is the most private associate of a worshipper, and thus mantra is a private and is kept a secret too. Mantra Vidya is experiential and not discussion oriented. We can talk about this as much as we want, but it is meant for a practitioner and not for a debater or a curious reader. What is taught is usually very subjective and depends on the audience. Just as you have things private that you prefer to disclose only to a select few whom you can confide in, the guru teaches Mantra Vidya to those disciples that he feels are fit, and each one is taught according to their needs and evolution. A disciple should not disclose his guru mantra or the mantras he's initiated into to anyone else unless instructed by the guru. So how do mantras work? The stronger the faith and willpower attached to doing the mantra, the better it is. It's like a dynamo effect. The more you repeat a mantra continuously, the more you get charged up with divinity. This phenomenon is so subtle and so fast that the person chanting the mantra does not even realize, it as the sound waves or vibrations moving in the air have their own frequencies, while the human ear can only hear up to from say 20 hertz frequency to about 20,000 hertz per second. Mantra sadhana places great emphasis on adhering to the framework of mantra yoga. And that invariably entails faith in your God, in your guru, the mantra, the lineage, and the initiation. These are not mere words, but the keepers and champions of a time-worn tradition. This is mantra sadhana in a nutshell. The basic principle of mantra sadhana is to practice the utterance of the sound with such intensity and fervor and determination that your being reverberates with that sound. You become that sound. It becomes your sound, your mantra. And only you, the one you connect with, it's like it transports you to another dimension of consciousness. Your experience is sort of, it brings in fearlessness, a kind of oneness with everything around you. This happens naturally to every practitioner of mantras. There are 16 factors that will ensure your success on the path of mantra yoga. All 16 requisites, however, depend on the singular most important element. Can any one of you guess what it is? I'd like to see if you could type in the comments. What do you think is the most important factor? Okay. Well, okay. I can just tell you that is grace. Without divine grace, it is impossible to attain siddhi or success. The amount of grace you receive on the path of mantra yoga is directly proportional to how sincerely you fulfill the 16 conditions. What are these 16 conditions? It's bhakti, shuddhi, asan, pachang sevan, the 5 types of food, achar, which means conduct, dharan, concentration, divya desh sevan, self-identification, prana kriya, breath regulation, mudra, tarpan, havan, bali, sacrifice, yag, jap, dhyan, and finally samadhi or absorption. There are 3 main requisites of mantra siddhi, and mantra sadhana, which we would like to discuss, which we think is really important. The first being devotion or faith or bhakti, initiation, the second is initiation, and the third is daily duties. Bhakti is the most important condition to succeed in mantra yoga. Why do we need devotion if mantras form a scientific framework, right? Naina just explained the entire science behind mantra. But before we answer this question, I have to ask you whether you believe in the Vedic scriptures. Do you believe that they are true and not a work of fiction? If you have come to believe that our scriptures are mere mythological texts, then mantra yoga will disappoint you completely. Mantra requires you to invest your faith in the deity. Every mantra has a deity. If you don't believe in the existence of the consciousness supreme, then you would be better off practicing pure meditation and not bother about the sonic science of mantras. If you feel good by chanting a mantra, by all means, please do continue doing that. If, however, you wish to experience all that mantra siddhi can bring you, it is important that the system of mantras is followed in its entirety. Walking this path invariably begins with some faith in the truth of Vedic scriptures, existence of the consciousness supreme, and the possibility that the consciousness supreme or energy can manifest in the physical form in you. Yes, in you. All that is required is to put that potential energy in motion and turn it into creative energy so that you may elevate yourself. Potential is not the same as reality, though. Everyone can become Buddha, but not everyone does. Anyone can score 10,000 runs in cricket, right? But not everyone does. Not every cricketer does. We all have the potential to realize the divinity within, but we have to work to reach that level of divinity. It demands we put aside our ego, which is never an easy task. To reach any level above where we are, we must first accept with humility that we require help from someone who's already there, that we haven't figured everything, that we need the beneficence of someone more evolved than us. Receiving that benediction is grace. And to be worthy recipient of grace requires bhakti. There are 3 stages of progression on the path of bhakti. I thought this was really interesting, and a lot of us here would be able to identify with these stages as we've been involved in the spiritual practices. Vaidhi bhakti. Vaidhi means enjoined by rules or precept. This is the first stage where you do something just because it's written in the scriptures or just because you have been instructed by a guru to do so. In this stage, do your mantra, but you don't really necessarily feel anything when you're doing your mantra. You express your devotion, but you don't feel it inside you. It's all right. It is a process, and everybody goes through that till you reach the next stage, which is called the ragatmika stage of bhakti. Raga means to have feelings of passion, especially love and affection. It also means a strong desire and intense longing. In this stage of bhakti, you begin to develop strong feelings for your guru. All your relations begin and end with or in your guru. Very few, less than 1% of the aspirants even reach that stage, let alone cross it. You become increasingly disconnected from the physical world as your longing turns into despair, but have hope. You will reach this third stage. What is the third stage? Third stage is the parabhakti. Para means supreme. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that the one who attains my parabhakti most certainly merges in me. In this stage of bhakti, you no longer feel disconnected with the world around you because you see the divine in everything around you. The longing is still there, but it takes the form of divine union and wisdom. You realize that there's nothing or no one out there who is not a part of the consciousness supreme. You come to the natural conclusion that there's nothing to run away from or to run to. It's all divine everywhere. Every particle, every entity, every object, every being, every experience is the divine you seek. The next aspect is initiation. Initiation is not just a spiritual link between you and your guru. It goes way beyond that. It's your access to all the siddhas and awakened energies in the lineage that you are initiated to. It's not like those siddhas will manifest and talk to you in person, although sometimes you do get visions and guidance during such visions, but you are protected and guided in ways words just can't explain. Initiation is not a privilege, it's a training. Various levels of initiation are milestones to indicate your spiritual progress within the lineage. A Siddh Guru will train you over a period, gradually increasing the bar to build your skill level. The nature of initiation gives you various, it varies. Actually, it really varies based on the tradition, the lineage, and your guru's own attainment. There are 3 ways of initiating a disciple. The first is Shakti. It's called Shakti Diksha, or very commonly it's also known as Shakti Pat. When imparting Diksha in this manner, the Guru touches the disciple, usually on the forehead, giving the first step towards awakening of the primordial energy, the Kundalini. A disciple must nurture the newly received energy by way of meditation or individual practices, on the path to truly awaken this energy. Only a guru who has actually done sadhana himself is truly able to pass on the energy on a sustainable basis. One touch of Ramakrishna was enough to put the seed of transformation in the young Narendra, who went on to become Swami Vivekananda. The next is Shambhavi. When a guru is happy and decides to initiate a disciple by merely casting a glance at him or touching him, it is Shambhavi initiation. The primary difference between Shambhavi and Shaktipat is the origin of initiation. In Shaktipat, the basis is the transfer of Kriya energy, which is an active energy. Whereas in Shambhavi, it is the transfer of thought energy. A Shaktipat says, if I could act like my guru, I would start becoming him. A Shambhavi says, if I could think like my guru, I would naturally start acting like him. Then we have the mantri. When a guru decides to transform the disciple by imparting a mantra, it's called a mantri diksha. Mantri diksha is one of the most common forms of diksha, and a guru can initiate a disciple only into the mantras he's been initiated into by his guru in a human form. And into a mantra, the guru has awakened himself. Mantras are usually transmitted orally here. This has been a tradition from the beginning of time. Different initiations are meant for different people. A guru examines the temperament of the disciple and initiates accordingly. Nitya karma. In Nitya Karma, an adept continues to abide by a daily routine to build on the siddhis acquired by intense practice or to simply maintain them. Practice Nitya Karma helps build mindfulness. After you have championed the art and the routine of practicing daily duties with reverence, mindfulness, and sincerity, the guru, depending on the potential, inclination, and readiness of the disciple, imparts the detailed instructions on how to invoke the mantra. Many mantras come with certain applications which are called kamya prayog. This is when the power of the mantra is used to attain a desired outcome. For a lot of mantras, there are no specific applications per se also. Many a time an aspirant simply does sadhana to express his gratitude or to have a vision of his deity or to attain a mantra siddhi. But none of that is done with a view to use the power of mantra for any specific desired outcome, especially material or worldly results. And that is perfectly fine. Such mantras don't come with a prior kamya prayog, and that's fine. Having said that, when a practitioner has already accumulated plenty of energy of the mantra, he or she is naturally empowered to heal others and grant genuine wishes of others with the sole view of furthering the cause of nature for the welfare of others. But in our modern times, the practice is extremely difficult, if not near impossible. Therefore, some follow the rule of reciting mantras at the same time daily, sitting at the same place, wearing the same clothes. However, this too can be very difficult. The best approach is to recite a mantra anytime, any place, while driving, while watching TV, while sleeping, while cooking, anywhere, all the time. The use of mantras. Like all power sources, mantras can be used or misused. Please remember, power is simply power. One cannot qualify a power into being good or evil, right? It is the use of power that can make it constructive or destructive. At the extreme ends of the spectrum, mantra can be used to give life or cause death. There are different mantras to accomplish various different outcomes in life. Some want to progress materially, others spiritually, some both. Before you arrive at any conclusion that you can just chant a mantra and win a lottery, let me tell you that that's not how mantras work. Mantra science is not a substitute for right karma or action. Mantra sadhana can help you experience deep states of samadhi if you so wish, or it can help you learn anything faster. It can help you become more decisive and responsible in life. Mantras have virtually illimitable range of uses. The Mahabharata is probably the finest exemplar of this. Arrows fired, chariots flung like toys, releasing water from the earth, cheating at dice, preserving the dignity of a lady, Draupadi, by creation of endless drapes of clothing. Mantras can control the elements of nature like rain and heat, the atoms and molecules of the chemical elements like restoring amputated limbs, and even controlling people and events in the spiritual world. Here's a story that I heard from my guru. Once a cobra wandered into Gurudev's farm in Gurgaon. Some senior disciples spotted it, panicked, and in that panic, one of them threw the Mahamrityunjay mantra at it, blinding the poor snake as a result. When Gurudev heard of this, he lost his shirt. He then walked up to the cobra, restored its sight, and personally led it out of the farm. Such is the power of mantra. Gurudev initiated his disciples in 6 mantras. The Raksha mantra that gives you protection, the Chamunda mantra, it's a Shakti mantra, the Mahamrityunjaya mantra, the one that combines the power of Shiva and Shakti, creating a higher energy. It is the undying one, which is all destructive power, which is also the Rudra. The Mahagayatri mantra, it is the power that controls it. The Mahaguru mantra, the mantra that works above the consciousness, beyond the Brahman, is the Mahaguru mantra. The Trinity, when combined together, is Parabrahm. The Sanjeevani mantra is where you can bring the dead alive. It is a combination of the Mahagayatri and the Mahamrityunjay, and it is to be recited very strictly at the level of consciousness. But Gurudev tweaked the mantras. For example, Hrim was tweaked to Hring. The mantras were to invoke the Guru mantra within. He often called himself the Guru Factory. Gurudev was a Mahaguru whose goal was to evolve as many people as possible. His disciples opened sthans all over the country with the sole purpose of selfless service. Journey of mantra sadhana. There is no doubt that the Guru plays an important role in the path of sadhana. As far as the disciple and the tenets of mantra yoga are concerned, a Guru is at par with God. The journey of mantra sadhana has 5 key aspects. The success of the path depends on the sum, the quality, and the consistency of efforts you put in. To understand mantra sadhana in its entirety, these 5 aspects must be understood. This is where mantra yoga is different from meditation. The first is Siddh Guru. Do you know the difference between the light of the sun versus that of the moon? The sun's presence annihilates any darkness, whereas the moon dissipates it without eliminating it completely. The moon is soothing, while the sun seething. Like the moon, a guru allows you to exist just the way you are, accepting you the way you are, ever exuding the gentle rays and the full light of love, care, wisdom, and guidance. A Diksha Guru is the one who initiates you on the path of self-discovery. This is the form of Guru whose virtues are extolled in the scriptures. This is the Guru who has been placed at par with God even in the Vedic texts. Generally, to be able to make a mantra siddh, it can take up to a few lifetimes. However, Gurudev gave mantras to his disciple virtually completed, thereby making it possible to make them siddh in a few years or few months, or as in my guru's case, instantaneously. Disciples. The next most important aspect is the disciples. The mantra sadhana of the disciple is very important. Without a musician, there's no music. Without you, there is no sadhana. A guru can guide you, help you, direct you, but ultimately it is you who have to sit through the grueling hours of sadhana, and it will be you and the world, if you use your energy to help others, who will reap the rewards of that effort. If you are patient, vigilant, diligent on the path, you are sure to attain Siddhi. Quality of your effort. Attainment of Siddhi depends a lot on the quality of your effort and the purity of your faith. The path of Mantra Yoga, as some philosophers and secularists have you believe as simply as chanting some letters and syllables to help you connect with the universe, is just not true. Another most important quality is self-surrender. The path of Mantra Yoga is accepting that there is a higher force I can draw energy from. It is living a life that is morally, physically, and emotionally pure. It requires that you do not harm, hurt, or injure others. These acts displease the deity. It requires you to have undying faith. Since you believe that you seek something from someone or some energy operating at a higher frequency than you, you exercise a degree of self-surrender with the belief that you can't control everything in life. Humility. The fifth is humility. For a tree laden with fruits bends naturally. The more substance you have in you, the humbler you will be naturally. And it goes without saying that the purer your sadhana, the more you are filled with substance. In other words, the more you empty yourself, the more energy fills you. We would now like you to hear an experience of a disciple on what mantra sadhana, when practiced diligently with complete surrender, can do.
This year is called the year 2021 is called the year of awakening. So as my Guruji says, we should connect with ourselves and do as much as Mantra Vidya and Path. So I try to do it as often as possible, but sometimes you feel the amount you're doing is not enough. So I made a commitment to myself that I have to go beyond myself and give more time for your Mantra Vidya. So a few days back, when I sat to do it very sincerely, I had fixed a goal that I had to complete so many number of mantra, and I started doing the 𝐬𝐻𝐸𝐴𝐳 mantra. And I didn't realize how I went so deep into it. And it was just happening, the mantra, and I saw 3 more clones sitting opposite me, and we were reciting the 𝐬𝐻𝐸𝐴𝐳 mantra turn by turn continuously, and it was with so much rhythm and vibration that we didn't realize how long we were doing the mantra. And it was just all of a sudden like an alarm goes that your time is up, and all the mantra stopped and those clones vanished. And I felt so happy with myself. I said, oh, I've achieved it and managed to do what I want to do. And I was really shocked. But the vibration and the energy was to another level. It was like ecstasy. I didn't know what was happening. It was really another level of energy and vibration, which was really the magic of the mantra that made you feel and be what you were. It is all thanks to my Guruji and his blessings that we could achieve what I wanted to.
Isn't that really beautiful? That experience is 1 in a million. Now we move on to the 6 limbs of mantra sadhana. The first is the rishi or the seer of the mantra. Every mantra that is available to us on our planet was brought to us by some seer. The seer of the mantra is called the rishi of that mantra, the one who saw the mantra. The next is the devta or the deity. Every mantra has one. The devta of a mantra possesses certain traits and qualities that an aspirant wishes to acquire. Every devta has a form and attributes that are generally used for the purpose of meditation. The devta represents the potential energy of the mantra. The seed or the bij. A mantra without a seed syllable is like a seedless fruit. You can enjoy its taste, you can benefit from its nutrients, but only once. You can't use that fruit to grow a tree and multiply it to have a supply of fruits always. The seed of a mantra represents its creative energy. The Shakti. Einstein once said, nothing happens until something moves. Well, energy or the Shakti of a mantra is its kinetic aspect. A Devta represents the masculine side, Shakti signifies the feminine side. Together, they complete the mantra. A mantra without Shakti has no application at all. On the path of mantra yoga, you cannot benefit from a mantra if its energy is not known. It is by virtue of the Shakti of a mantra that we actually put the mantra to use. The chand or the meter of the mantra. All Vedic mantras must adhere to a certain Vedic meter known as the chand. They determine how the various syllables are to be grouped in a mantra. Therefore, to avoid mispronouncing a mantra, it would be assigned a meter that would show the arrangement of the syllables. And the last is the kilak. Kilak refers to the innermost syllables of the mantra. By innermost, we don't mean the letters that are in the middle of the mantra or the letters that are placed in the innermost circle of its accompanying yantra. Here, innermost refers to the most secret, esoteric, and potent aspect of the mantra. That is the ability to put your mantra to use. Without kilak, you can accumulate the energy of the mantra, but you can't utilize it for any practical purposes. It's like, you can deposit as much as you like in your bank, as much money as you like in your bank. Without knowing your PIN for your ATM card, you can withdraw nothing from the ATM. The 6 common flaws of mantras. The scriptures state many potential flaws in the mantra. There are 50, but out of those, the most important ones and they're even applicable even in today's day and age. There are 6 which are the most common. Dagda. Dagda is the first flaw. When chanting is done with unnecessary additional sounds of yo, e, ya, yo, yum, this is one of the most common flaws. When you are restless, we start chanting a bit fast, or when we're tired, feeling lazy, we'll end up chanting a little slowly. In doing so, this often distorts the phonetic harmony that exists in the mantra. And when that harmony is breached, the mantra yields either no results or undesirable results. For example, chanting Om Namo Shivaya. If we chant is at Om Namo Shivaya, we will attach a Dagda flaw to this mantra by changing its phonetics. Trust. Trust is to chant other mantras along with the mantra you are initiated into. When carrying out a sadhana, one must stick to the procedure given by your guru. Any other mantras must be chanted only if they're a part of the sadhana. Garvit. If you haven't acquired a mantra through a proper tradition, it is inherently flawed. For example, your guru may be giving a mantra instruction to another disciple, and you happen to drop into that conversation, adopting that mantra as your own. It creates a flaw in that mantra called garvit. A most common occurrence of this is when someone shares with you that they benefited from a certain mantra. It's just like a piece of conversation. They are not entitled to initiate you into that mantra, and yet you take that mantra from them, make a note of it, go home and start chanting it. Such a mantra is not going to yield the desired results. Mataha. When a mantra is acquired from a book without getting instructions from your guru, the mantra is said to have a mataha dosh. Chinna. This applies if your guru has recommended a specific place for your mantra sadhana, or if the sadhana explicitly states selection of a certain place. When you ignore those instructions and try to awaken that mantra at a place of your own choice, the mantra gets a chinna dosh. Stambhit. When ignoring your guru's instructions completely, a practitioner chooses to go according to what he sees fit, and the mantra is then said to be stambhit. Stambhit means the one which has stopped. And a stambhit dosh implies that the potency of that mantra is blocked due to breaking from that tradition. Having said that, once you've reached an advanced level, after you've invoked a mantra, you can modify some of the practices based on your individual temperament. You can add to your Guru's mantras instructions, but not replace them completely. It is an addition to, not an instead of. Infusing life in a mantra is done by way of performing 10 samskars or a rite of passage. Think of Mantra Siddhi as your child made from pure energy. The 10 samskars ensure proper upbringing of this child so that he is obedient, wise, compassionate, and competent. The path of mantra yoga, a mantra is considered to have a living energy. It also undergoes 10 important rites of passage where the adept brings it to life. So let's just go through these little quickly. We'll just do a short run through. Janan. Janan is the first samskar, and Janan means to give birth. It is equivalent of conception, the samskar in Vedic term. Then the second one is Deepan. Deepan is to ignite the light in the mantra, the light of life. It is similar to, to when a soul has already taken a form of an embryo. It is at that stage. The third is Bodhan. Bodhan is the process of infusing consciousness in the energy of a mantra. The energy of a mantra that has been infused with consciousness can guide many facets of life. It polishes your inner voice and paves way for you to communicate with and be guided by the universal energy around you. Tadan means two things. The first is to chastise, and the second, a solemn act. When it comes to mantra yoga, the samskar of Tadan is the solemn act of chastising a mantra. It needs to be gently chastised because when it goes out there and interacts with the universal energy, it is going to meet resistance and other obstacles. By gently chastising it now, you prepare it for the future. Abhishek is done when the mantra is fully grown. It is done to acknowledge that the mantra is assuming a life of its own from this moment. You recognize that the energy of the mantra is mature enough to handle its own energy. Vimalikaran means purification, and Vimalikaran Samskar means the act of purification. The living energy of the mantra is young enough to be aggressive or even hurtful at times. But after its Abhishek, the mantra is infused with a new power. What Vimalikaran Samskar does is it purifies and pacifies that energy in the mantra. The next is Jivan. The mantra is ready now to be independent. It is ready to lead a life of its own, and it has acquired enough energy to serve your cause. We then move on to Tarpan. The mantra is not only independent, but now it is mature so that you can release it out in the world to interact with the universal energy and remove obstacles from your path. Now you don't have to watch out for your mantra. It goes out and does its job for you. After that is Gopan. When only a mantra that is mature can protect you. After the Tarpan Samskar, Gopan Samskar is done for protection. In this Samskar, you remind your mantra, you infuse it in the subconscious energy that is the primary responsibility of the mantra is to protect you. The next is Apiyayan. There are two words in Sanskrit which are closely related to each other. One is Apyayan, and which means union, and the other is Apyayan, which means advancement, gladness, and satiated. This is the final stage of the samskar where living energy of the mantras has attained union with you, leaving you satiated with a wave of bliss. From this moment on, you are ready to infuse potency in this mantra by performing a Purushcharan of the mantra. Purushcharan is creating spiritual and energetic wealth of the mantra you may use at a later date. Once you have performed the 10 samskars, you are ready to do a Purushcharan of your mantra. A pertinent question that arises is, what are these seed syllables and why do we have to do the samskar before you can truly awaken the energy in the mantra? Generally, the intention behind invoking a mantra is not only to attain a certain benefit from it, but also to do so repeatedly, which means that not only do you enjoy the fruit, but with the seed you have, you can plant a tree reaping the same fruit repeatedly in abundance and creating an orchard. And a very important point to note here, however, is that you don't need to do all the 10 samskars, especially if your guru has initiated you into the mantra and given you instructions on how to invoke it. Now we've shared a lot of gyan on mantras, but another important question is, how do you chant a mantra? You've selected your mantra, you know how to go about invoking it, you know the various steps infusing life into your mantra. Yeah, but the most important aspect of mantra sadhana is how to chant the mantra. The quality and quantity are both important in mantra sadhana. Chanting a mantra a few thousand times or even a few 100,000 times does not necessarily amount to spiritual progress. The quality in chanting must be there. You should neither chant it in a haste nor too slowly. Chanting mantras in a haste is said to, I'm not really sure about it, I've just read about that, bring about sickness, and delayed frequencies says to destroy wealth. Devotion and faith are synonymous with spiritual love. Without love, your sadhana is reduced to a dry performance of mechanical rituals, making you only more rigid and angry. When you undertake a prolonged or an intense mantra sadhana, it is natural that at times you feel lazy, you're sleepy, you're bored, you're tired. That's okay. We're human. These are common hurdles and there are ways to overcome them. A lack of interest at times doesn't mean that you lack devotion and faith. To get past these emotional and mental hurdles in the form of negative feelings, you have to understand the 4 types of chanting. The first is spoken chanting. This is the first and the lowest form of chanting. It's called the Vachik Jap. Vachik means the words that's been verbalized and uttered. We communicate with the external world through spoken words alone. Whether those words are written or uttered, they are classified as spoken words. The use of spoken words is purely to strengthen our connection with the external world. In mantra sadhana, however, it is an inward process. Chanting aloud, like the relentless chirping of a cricket, does not take you any closer to your inner world. Though in an aggressive mode, when you want to annihilate enemies or rivals, you do follow the Vachik type of mantra jap. The second is the whispered chanting. It's called the Upanshu jap. Upanshu is it is a form of chanting where only your lips move just a bit. When you are whispering your mantra, your mind naturally concentrates a bit more. One of the fundamental precepts of mantra sadhana is not to disclose your mantra to others, right? So in Upanshu jap, you whisper so discreetly that you are almost inaudible. Only you are able to listen to what you are chanting. Of course, whisper chanting is better than spoken chanting because it represents a mental consciousness, or which is called the madhyam. Mental chanting or the mansik jap. This is when there's no external sound in your chanting and even your lips don't move. A common misconception is that mental chanting is chanting a mantra loud in your mind. No, that's not how it is. The correct way to do it is mental chanting is to recall your mantra with concentration, one word at a time. If you are simply chanting in your mind, you'll discover that very soon, even though you are chanting the mantra mentally, your mind is already thinking about a million other things. This is not effective. Mental jap is 10 times more effective than the first 2 types of jap. It represents the intellectual consciousness, the pashyanti. It is important to note that the sound that is associated with it is called Pashyanti, means that it is not the sound. Actually, it is the Pashyanti means that which is seen. Yeah? In mental chanting, what you do is actually you repeatedly visualize the mantra in your mind's eye. The most advanced way of chanting is the unspoken chanting, or called the ajap. As explained by Kanika earlier, unspoken chanting is not something you do per se. This fourth form of jap is called ajap, which means that which is not chanted. It is no longer a conscious act. It is something that happens to you. When you continue to sincerely chant your mantra, in the first 3 stages with mindfulness over a long period of time, you will naturally reach the 4th stage of jap. In unspoken chanting, you find yourself mentally chanting all the time. The sonic energy of the mantra continues to accumulate in you. You are able to continue your chanting even when you are operating normally throughout the day doing other calls. Like how Kanika explained, she asked you to do that as an experiment. As soon as you get up in the morning, you realize that you're already chanting your mantra. Some scriptures say that the ajap state, you are even chanting while you're asleep. The ajap chanting represents the transcendental consciousness, the par. The mantra remains the same, but how you chant makes all the difference. The softer you chant your mantra, the closer you get to its source. The power of 108. Traditionally, most mantras are recited or chanted 108 times. That is why a jap mala have 108 beads. Countless explanations have been given to provide significance of the number 108. For example, the ancient Indians were excellent mathematicians, and 108 may be a product of a precise mathematical operation, which is thought to be special in numerological significance. Another explanation is that there are 74 letters in the Sanskrit alphabet, and these are a combination of those. The chakras are our energy centers, are the intersections of energy lines. And there are said to be a total of 108 energy lines converging to form the heart chakra. In Vedic astrology, another one of the explanations is that in Vedic astrology, there are 12 constellations and 9 arc segments called the Namshas and the Chandra Kalas. So 9 times 12 equals 108. Mudras. There are primarily 5 types of mudras. Mana mudra with the head mudras, Maya mudra, postural mudras, Bandha mudras, which are lock mudras, Adhara mudras, which is the perineal mudras, and the Hasta mudras, the hand gestures. Out of the 5 of the mudras, Mantra Yoga makes use of the hand gestures. To a beginner on the path of mantra sadhana, mudras often appear to be insignificant exhibition of some gestures. But to an experienced practitioner, and this is what I've learned from Ravi Trehanji, is the correct understanding and performance of mudras can make all the difference between success and failure. In the world of mudras, each finger refers to a different element. Our body is made up of the 5 elements, as we all know. It is the earth, water, air, space. When Shiva created the mantras, he created the elements, and the sensory phenomena from such elements. Therefore, mantras can be used to gain mastery over elements, to channelize this energy. Mudras prepare a body to harness the energy gained from mantra chanting. It's performing the right gestures, like that person stranded on the island who you can draw attention of, from the cosmic energy kind of a thing. A little finger represents, now, we just go with the 5 fingers. The little finger represents the water, the ring finger, the earth, the middle finger is the space, the index finger, the air, the thumb signifies fire. Touching the tip of the finger with your thumb balances these elements. Touching the tip of your finger to the base of your thumb pacifies the element. Touching the tip of the thumb to the base of your finger boosts the elements represented by the finger, and touching the tip of the thumb with all the fingers pacifies the element represented by the thumb, which is fire. Mudras can be performed by one or both hands, but whenever you use both the hands, it is more effective. There are here we're just going to discuss the 7 core mudras that should be performed as a part of your daily duties. The first being the Shunya mudra. Shunya means void, empty, original. Shunya represents creation, the universe, the vast expanse. We begin by showing the Shunya mudra first, so we merge our individual ego in the supreme consciousness. The next is the Prana mudra. Prana regulates the vital life force in your body. Then comes the Apanna mudra. Apanna mudra regulates the descending energy. After that is the Samana mudra. This mudra regulates the thermal energy. We then come to the Udana mudra. Udana mudra regulates the ascending energy. And finally, there are 2 more. Finally, we come to the Vyana mudra. Vyana mudra regulates the diffusive energy. And then the Dhyana mudra. Dhyana means meditation. Dhyana mudra is a meditative gesture. In mantra sadhana, you just have to very gently perform the mudra without exerting any pressure at all, and hold a mudra for roughly 10 seconds each. The tools for mantra sadhana. We just quickly go through these tools. What types of rosary or chanting beads you use plays a very important role in attaining mantra siddhi. It is best to keep it in a bag that no one touches them other than you throughout your sadhana. There are rosaries with 27, 54 and 108 beads. The most common, of course, being the 108 beads. The 109th bead usually sits on the top and is called a meru. When one round of 108 is complete, you should not go over the beads, but turn over the rosary and start all over again. Then another tool is the lamp. There are 3 aspects of a lamp that matter in a mantra vidya. They are the actual material or the quality of the lamp, the type and material of the wick used, and the oil used to burn it. Lamps made from gold, silver, brass are good for any sadhana, but if you can't procure one, any of these metals, an earthen lamp is universally acceptable and good for all sadhanas. Certain sadhanas, especially the tantric sadhanas, require lamps made from bones, human skull, and skulls of various animals. Lamps made from just copper is never advised. Different types of oils used are clarified butter, ghee, what we call ghee, and sesame oil is said to be safe. Then the direction in which you sit. Ideally, you should be facing east, north, or northeast while doing your mantra. Different sadhanas require you to face different directions. If you have not been told, follow. These are some of the principles that you could follow. North, east, or northeast are good for all sadhanas where you do jap in the morning. Any sadhana that is done for peace and prosperity can be done facing east, north, or northeast. For material progress relating to wealth, face west. Invoking your ancestors is done by facing south. Meditation, yoga, sadhana for wisdom and knowledge should be done facing north. Any sadhana done after sunset or at night should be done facing west. Clothing. Once again, the rules of clothing differ from one sadhana to another. This includes the type of clothes, the color, you wear. Wearing loose and comfortable clothing is the best. They should be from natural material like cotton, wool, or silk. Cotton, of course, is most preferable. For apparently, I mean, this is again what we read is that for Devi sadhana, you can wear red colored clothing. For a Devta sadhana, you wear either white or yellow. For all other sadhanas, you wear white. The asana or the type of seat you select has an impact on the quality of sadhana. But a lot of this you may not be able to follow it today because the asana is the only thing that separates you from the energy of the earth. And but some, like the lion hide or the deer hide, is not possible today. So what you do is, I mean, you can use a kambal asana, a blanket. This is one of the best asana which is easily available and universally good for almost all sadhanas. Then you have the kusha grass, which is made by weaving grass strands of kusha, and you make a mat out of it. This particular asana is used for spiritual and material progress. And you have a reshmi asana. A seat made from silk is used when many of the sadhanas where you are trying to attract something specific in your life. Generally, it is said that a seat made from wood or to sit directly on stone and do a mantra jap is prohibited and not to be done. Your diet differs from sadhana to sadhana. If again there is no instruction given, a general rule of thumb is to be vegetarian. It's best to eat that is easy to digest, wholesome, and freshly cooked. They say that the diet that's particularly suited for all sadhana is called Havishya Anna. Simply put, Havishya Anna involves not eating any beans, lentils, grains, pulses, or legumes. The hurdle in invocation. We've gone through how we can do the sadhana, and while we do practice, there are certain hurdles that we come across. And in the path of mantra yoga, it is like any other path where there are challenges that you need to overcome. There are inner, outer, and spiritual obstacles which any sincere seeker is bound to experience. The key word here is sincere seeker. Any aspirant who's not really serious or committed will neither encounter the challenges nor reap the rewards. In the beginning, you begin with enthusiasm, hope, expectations, and determination. But most people quit even as the journey just starts to take shape. As they move towards the point of no return. Why does this happen? You need perseverance. You need to have patience. Transformation, while immensely rewarding, can be painful, and it certainly doesn't come easy. The path of mantra sadhana is not the one for quick results. Like any worthwhile, it requires sustained effort over a period of time. So let me walk you through some of the obstacles that would hit you in your journey and how to overcome them. The first being fear. Fear is not a challenge in the beginning nor during your daily practice, but when you begin to embark on other aspects of mantra yoga, you can't just sit in the comfort and confines of your home. Your sadhana may take you to secluded places, to remote areas, maybe caves, woods, cremation grounds, depending on the nature of your sadhana. When you're all by yourself in solitude, doing Purushcharan, all kinds of fear may grip you. If you've hit a state of fear on account of your experiences with the sonic energy of the mantra, you must be doing it right. You are closer to the final siddhi. If you're initiated into a tradition by your guru, you've absolutely got nothing to worry about. The entire lineage of siddhas, the gurus in the tradition who existed before you, will protect you. Another hurdle is impatience. There is absolutely no way to hasten the process of invocation, none whatsoever. Impatience will not only compromise your practice, but it is the root of most challenges we face while invoking a mantra. When you are impatient, you are restless naturally. It's harder to focus. Your mind wanders in different directions. With an unfocused mind, the chances of making mistakes are also much higher. And it is important to see the message behind, you know, I mean, I wouldn't say it's the message behind, but it is important to see the reason behind you maintaining that patience and faith. So sometimes what happens is they think that I've been chanting this mantra, but nothing has happened. So let me try a different mantra. I've heard from so-and-so that such and such a mantra is a lot more powerful and solve their problems. Or I heard that there's this Siddha, some adept who gives out ancient mantras. I'd better get one quickly kind of thing. There is nothing that works quickly. Physical pain or disability, an unfavorable environment, procrastination, laziness, doubt, and self-doubt are the other common hurdles on the path of mantra yoga. Lying, false conduct, and harmful actions or thoughts use up your energy. It is one of the primary reasons why many people who chant still don't attain siddhi or rewards of the chanting, because most of the energy gained through their spiritual practice ends up getting absorbed in trivial matters that are not only non-spiritual, but detrimental to their own spiritual growth. There are 9 steps to attain mantra siddhi. But before that, we are now at the end of our session, and I'd like you to just stop for a moment and think as to how fortunate we have been where we've gone through this entire grueling session, going through, and seeing how mantra sadhana is not only a very tough sadhana, but the amount of effort that needs to be put in would be beyond our physical realm or capabilities or capacity. And we're fortunate to have a guru in our lives, who's made it so simple for us. Yeah. So here I now just want to continue with these 9 steps to attain that union before you become one with the deity. The more mindfully, reverently you perform the steps below, the more effective you will be in your job, and consequently, you'll have a much better chance of attaining mantra siddhi. The first being avahan. Avahan means to invite. With avahan, you recognize that this energy exists and is dear to you, and you want to connect with your individual energy. The next is sthapana. When you've invited your deity, an appropriate place is offered for the divine energy to sit. With sthapana, you welcome the deity to take a seat and establish itself in your energy field. Sanidhan is the next, and Sanidhan is done to bring the energy closer to you. The act of Sanidhan is to befriend the energy that you have invited. Then the Sanirodhan Sambodhan. This is to gratefully and gleefully address your deity. Your deity has arrived in your world, so you must express your happiness. The Samukhikaran. Samukhikaran means to present. In Samukhikaran, you mentally present various offerings like a glass of water, a cool drink, or fanning your deity. All this is done mentally while you visualize with utmost reverence and devotion. The Sakalikaran. Created from the word Sakala, Sakalikaran is to make it complete, to fulfill one's promise and to include everything. It also means low sound. Sakalikaran is the act of merging your energy in the energy of the deity so you become one. Then you have the Avagunthan. After Sakalikaran, now you possess the qualities of your deity. The literal meaning of Avagunthan is to veil or conceal. You are covering your new energy so it doesn't disperse out there. Mantra Yoga places great emphasis on keeping your sadhana and attainments to yourself and only using them for your or others' welfare. Talking about your sadhana wastes your energy in mantra science. It is all about preservation and channelizing your energy. Amartikaran is you want to give life to your energy which you've just received. With Amartikaran, you ensure that this energy stays alive in you. This can cause ripples in the form of suppressed and negative emotions, of fears, feelings of fear, despair, ego. To smoothen the process, Amartikaran is one of the most important steps. Paramikaran means to supremify, if there's a word like that. It means to elevate something to the most supreme level. A deity that was originally invited now lives in you. So by Amartikaran, you've accepted the deity in your body and immortalized its energy in you. With Paramikaran, you realize your own supreme divinity. You have brought another dimension of consciousness to operate in your normal world. It is incredibly powerful. It is the dawning of wisdom, the beginning of awakening. It is then the realization of the state of Aham Brahmasmi. Again, you can go through this entire process or just surrender to your guru and follow your lineage and the instructions there. We would like to end this session with another doha from Kabir, Sant Kabir. The three of us now bow down to our Guru with immense gratitude for showering us with unconditional grace and leading us towards the path of light.
गुरु गोविंद दो खड़े काके लागू पाए बलियारे गुरु आपने गोविंद दिया गोविंद दिया ओ बताए गोविंद दिया ओ बताए.
Dear audience, we would be happy to attempt to answer your questions, but this has been a really long session. And thank you for your patience listening. But we would be happy to answer them now, or if you would like, please do put your questions in the comments and we would attempt to respond to every question put up there. Thank you. Thank you, dear audience. And Kanika and Nena, over to you.
Thank you, Anjali ji. That was absolutely brilliant. Thank you, dear audience, for bearing with us and going through the presentation with us. We've gained great insight while doing this for you, and I hope we managed to transfer the same to you all. Please do write in to answers@hingorisutras.com, and you could also leave your questions in the comment section, and we would be gladly answering them as soon as possible.
Good night, Shubhratri, Sayonara, and thank you once again.